Welcome back to Author Mastery Insights. Super excited to have this conversation. Daniel Aaron, oh my gosh, I've been actually waiting for this conversation for such a long time. The Art of Spiritual Leadership. Not only do I love this book, its principle is an absolute necessity. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much, Marcus. It's a great pleasure to be here, an honor. Thank you.
Look, thank you. And for those not familiar, before we get into the conversation about this book, and I know that you're going to actually have some personal breakthroughs because of this book. Now, Daniel is not only an author of this incredible book, he's a professional keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and investor. He's a pioneer in the fields of spiritual leadership and spiritual entrepreneurship. And more than that, for 3 decades, he's had an obsession with personal and spiritual development that has made him the teacher's teacher. He is an incredible thought leader to evoke great conscious development so that you can impact humanity at a more profound and powerful level. That is embodied in this book. And I think every practitioner needs to develop their spiritual entrepreneurship, their spiritual leadership, and their capacity to serve. And that's exactly what this does. So thank you again. I'm so excited to have this conversation. And as your address underneath says, the art of vibrant living, that's exactly what takes place when you lead in this way. My first question, though, Daniel, that I really, really need people to understand, for me to, having read this book, having thought through the message in here, what is the significance of and the meaning behind having spiritual leadership in our businesses and our lives?
Yeah, thank you. Well, that is certainly a key and core question to it, and it's not an obvious one. I found out because it's not a new topic; it's an old topic. Because obviously we've had spirituality forever, and we've had leadership forever. The intentional combining of them is something that's really new. And why it's so valuable and important. Well, let's look at it just the separate pieces for a moment. When you look at leadership, what that really means is being able to move effectively toward what we want, right? We all of us, whether we're in any formal leadership position or not, we are leading ourselves, right? Whether we're doing it intentionally or by default. And the more we are able to, so to speak, get ourselves to do what we really want, to move ourselves forward toward our goals and aims in life, whatever they are, well, then that's good leadership. And if we can do that with ourselves, well, then we start to be able to expand that out to the people around us, right? So when we combine that with spirituality, what it means is a type of leadership or influence or the ability to transform, to overcome our past that is in alignment with the values of spirit, of kindness, love, humanity, as the word you said earlier. It's taking our aims and values in life and saying, how can I not just have that be something that happens for me on Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon? Have that be integrated with my life and guide me so that I'm being the best I can for my own life and enjoyment, and also for the upliftment of others. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That's just like beautifully and elegantly put. And there is an art to this. There's also a process to this. And before I ask you this next question, I'm just gonna talk through some of for me, the beauty of this book in the way that, the subtitle, The 40 Laws to Transform Your Life and the World. I think the significance of that cannot be understated. But you put it in a really accessible form. What you just spoke about, giving clarity to understanding spiritual leadership. And before I ask the question of what is the outcome and benefit of spiritual leadership for the person as they manifest this in their lives, I wanted to speak on, when I open up and you look at these areas here where it's got spiritual leadership axioms, it's these, you make this accessible. It's not just when people hear, well, geez, that was a lot to cover, Daniel. Yes, I understand I've got goals and directions that I want to move in. And when I lead myself, I move that way. And I want to live a more enriched and meaningful life. That can feel inaccessible to people. It can feel at times overwhelming and intangible. I love that you've brought these principles to a tangibility, to an accessibility, and even almost a pathway to allow that to unfold. So I would like for you to just talk to why you structured the book in this way and the benefits that this lesson after lesson, axiom after axiom, principle of application so that this journey of spiritual leadership can unfold organically, naturally, and evolve you into a better person through having a pathway laid out before you.
Wow, cool. Thank you, Marcus. I really appreciate the question too, because, and you wouldn't have known this, but I probably wrote and rewrote this book 3 or 4 times, start to finish. And I don't mean like editing, I mean like crumple it up and throw it away. Because I was like, it's not, it doesn't have the structure that works. And the way I came to this structure is, well, for many, many years, my life has been about being on stage, so to speak, and teaching and sharing with people. And what I've discovered over 20 something years of doing that is what works best is when I tell stories, right? And we all learn well when we're hearing stories. Most of us, not as well if someone's saying, well, you should do this and you should do that, right? So I knew eventually that what I really wanted to share were these powerful stories of transformation and spiritual leadership. And then as I evolved that a little bit further, I thought, well, that's valuable in and of itself. Like when we hear an inspiring story, a transformative story, a story with a lesson in it, we get something out of that automatically. Yet, could we take it a little bit further and say, let's distill the main lesson or the principle or the axiom in this? What's the thing that we could say, yeah, that from that story I can take this lesson and apply that in my own life. And then yeah, I put in some little exercises and ask some questions that people can play with if they want as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. I wanted to bring that in the conversation as I move into this next question, because as I said, I want people to realize the significance of spiritual leadership and its meaning for them, and how when you guide them step by step through story, through principle, through axiom, and provide a pathway, it can lead to what you're just about to answer here, a lot that I know that you're going to be able to answer, is what happens when you act on your spiritual leadership, when you apply the step-by-step trainings that you've delivered in this book. What is the evolution that results from the application of spiritual leadership in a person's life and business?
You know, I didn't set out to be a leader in any way myself. It happened for me about 20 years ago. I was living in Bali and I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we got a group of people together and we hang out and we do some personal and spiritual development and just help people really experience the fullness of who they are? And I had a friend who was like an assistant with me at the time. She said, yeah, let's do it. And then pretty soon I realized, like, whoa, there's a whole show going on here, and somehow I'm the one that's leading it. So then I realized, like, okay, I think I need to learn about this. And so I started studying leadership in a formal way. And when I was doing that, I came across this quotation, and it said, your leadership ability is the glass ceiling on your happiness and your success. And I had to literally go back and reread it. I was like, what? I don't get, huh? And then I thought, well, okay, I could see leadership being important for success. If you want to start a company or run an organization or have a family, whatever, there's leadership involved in that. So your success, yeah, but your happiness, that really puzzled me for a little while. And then I realized that one of my favorite definitions for happiness comes from a mentor of mine, Jim Rohn, who said happiness is progress toward a goal that is meaningful to you, right? So whatever any of us are wanting to experience, create in our lives, and I call it the art of vibrant living, and it's up to you what that means. You know, maybe it's all about family, maybe it's going on adventures around the world, writing a book, whatever it is. In order for us to move powerfully toward our goals, to really be making progress, well, we can't do it alone, right? And especially for people that have been, I say it this way, sometimes touched by spirit, who've had, some kind of conscious connection to spirit that's more than just an idea, then there's really, in my experience with people, there's this genuine desire, almost need to help in the world, to contribute to others. Another of my mentors, Tony Robbins, says the secret to living is giving. And the better we get at leadership, and specifically spiritual leadership, the more we are able to naturally contribute to the world it just happens automatically. And the more we do that, well, the better we feel, the happier we are, the more satisfied and fulfilled we are in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said, the impact that we can have. And I I know writing a book is firstly it's a special process when you write it yourself and you get it out there and you have a sense of achievement or a gratitude that you can impact others. I'd love some insight to the impact that this book has had in people's lives. So not the impact so much on you, because while that's important and we are grateful that you are here, I'd like to have an insight into your response to what people have told you. People have picked up the book and they've said, what? Now, I can tell people my story, but I'd love to hear also what people have come back and said to you and what it has meant to you when they've read this book, implemented its principles, and their lives have changed.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, the first that comes to mind, a little bit of a spoiler alert here, but I think it's going to be okay. Um, in the early part of the book, I invite the reader to write a letter from their future self, right? Whatever I say, whatever inspired you to pick this book up, right? To get it, to listen to whatever. There was something that was motivating you, and if you a month from now or a year from now look back and say, yeah, you know what, my experience with that book really worked. I really created something that I'm happy with. I achieved something, or I let go of something. What would that be? And how would that go? And what did you do? How did you get there? And and of course, this is just an exercise for people to do on their own. And I said, you don't need to share it with me, though. If you want to, that would be great. And I received one not long ago, and to me, it was just so touching because the woman who wrote the letter, she said, I got to that point in the book, and I had this feeling inside me of, yeah, it's not going to work. I'm not going to get what I want, just like all those other times in the past, right? And something clicked for me, and I thought, no, what can be different this time is me making it different, me believing in myself. And just that little exercise of her placing herself in the future and looking back at the path to get herself there was really impactful for her. And to me, that's like, and this is your experience, I'm sure, that if one little piece of the work, the book, makes a difference in someone's life, well, that makes it all worth it.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And if it's only one life, but the thing is, it's thousands of lives in thousands of ways. And I just wanted to share one of the great breakthroughs I had in relation to this. I already have or I am in a leadership position. I already have spiritual practices. And I think for me, it was remembering that leadership is not only a tangible thing you do day to day in your business, it is an extension of your spiritual practice. And it really galvanized for me the ability to lead with authenticity of
Hmm.
my spiritual principles and communicate with integrity from a place that I want to live my life. And so it became an incredible guidepost for me to continually act in a leadership role, in a business role, but also in my personal role in a way that I know is at the core of my being. And so when somebody writes a book that reminds you of these truths and causes you to self-reflect and direct your actions forward, I think it is a great gift. And I just wanted to acknowledge and appreciate you for that. And also just want to remind people that's exactly why, you need to be reading books that remind you of these, immutable truths. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. And as really, I wanted to, I guess, before we end this conversation, is also just reflect on where this book not only leads people in their lives, but the ability for them to grow and learn in other ways. Because I know that you also you're a keynote speaker, you're an author, you're a business person, you have incredible reach, impact, and add so much value. But I'd love for you to talk about the way that you work with people when they dive into this book and they reach in and say, I need some guidance, I need some direction. What do you do when an individual reads the books or reaches out to you on a personal level for coaching, mentoring, or business, or even personal growth guidance?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I love what you had to say, Marcus, about bringing more of your, I'm not sure if you use this word, but vulnerability, authenticity to your work and to your business. And, I assume that means colleagues and employees and patients and whoever you're working with. And I think that maybe is one of the biggest takeaways for me. And what I hear from people is just overcoming the idea that we're supposed to be a certain way, different than how we naturally are. So I really appreciate you sharing that too. Um, and to your question, more directly, well, one is I share a lot through social media. So all the big social media channels, people can tap in there and tell a lot of stories and create a lot of valuable content and lessons there. For people that want to go further than that, there are a few different ways that I work with people. I've got a couple coaching programs. One that's really for entrepreneurs specifically. It's called the Six Figure Spiritual Entrepreneur Program, that want to really integrate those two parts of their life. Another that's more for just a 7-week deep dive of transformation, called Living the Vibration of Vibrancy. So, the main thing for me though is wherever people are at, if they want to go further, and by that what I mean is overcome their past or limiting beliefs or old perceptions and really evolve into what we're here for, what they can be, what their destiny or dharma is in the world, then there's always a way to support someone in that.
Yeah, and I know that you are filled with an incredible spirit to serve, a wonderful heart to connect, and I think those you can grab those details. Below we'll have the link to the book. You'll have the details to be able to reach out to Daniel, and I think everybody, as you watch this, be reminded that you are here for a purpose. You have a mission far bigger than you would ever imagine. We all need mentors, guides, and as Daniel said right at the beginning, when you look to your leadership, it lifts the lid on your happiness. It lifts the lid on your success. But more, even beyond that, I think it will lift the lid on the impact that you can have through the service that you provide, the care that you deliver, the way that you live your life, and the fulfillment that you have. And if you are going to lead spiritually. Daniel, appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautifully said. Thanks so much for having me, Marcus, and for doing the amazing work that you're doing. You're helping so many people, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate being able to play my part. All right, everyone, we've got a job to do. Let's go do it. Thank you.